Cool. Can you everyone see my screen? Awesome. Okay.
Yeah.
For everybody to the Open Enterprise Agent, soon to be named something else, community outreach program. Before we get into it, I do want to make you guys aware of the antitrust policy notice. So all the activities have to be in accordance with the applicable antitrust and competition laws. If you guys do want to read more a little bit about it, there is a link on Hyperledger's website, and I will post this a little bit after the call as well. Code of conduct, just remember we are part of the Hyperledger community, so we do have to adhere to the Hyperledger code of conduct. I'll paste the link a little bit later in the chat if you guys are looking for it, but it is part of this presentation, and I will share that a little bit later as well. Okay, so we got a short and a pretty exciting agenda today. First, we're going to go through a round of introductions. Then the purpose of these calls. Got some exciting updates. There's okay,
Hi,
I'm not
guys.
going to talk much about it. Hey, yeah, how's it? I'm not going to talk too much about the exciting updates. I'll let people share. Hey, welcome. We've got a community spotlight section, which I'll share with you guys a little bit later. Calls for contributions and shout out to some community members that we will be introducing as well. Sorry, and a Q&A section. So without further ado, I am going to jump ahead. Okay, so welcome to the new participants on the call. Is there anybody on this call that hasn't been on the call before that would like to introduce himself? If you're a little bit shy, feel free to pop it in the chat as well with what do you do, etc.
Hi, I'm Sean Bohan. I'm part of the Hyperledger staff. Unfortunately for me, I always have a conflict at this time and it got canceled. So I'm psyched to be able to join y'all and see the progress and thank y'all for meeting. Oh, I'm sorry, my camera's off. Very nice to meet everybody.
Nice to meet you too. Welcome. Great to see you.
Hey, this is Subhash. This is my first time in this meeting, and so thanks for that, and also for inviting me to this one. So, yeah, we recently put a proposal in Catalyst grant program, and also to integrate with Atala Prism, and I'll talk briefly about my project, like what we are going to do later in this meeting. And so I think that's part of the agenda. But yeah, so super stoked to be here and super stoked of my prospects of working with you all.
Awesome. Welcome. We're super stoked to have you here as well. Thanks for joining. Cool. Are there any other new community members?
Hi, Marcus here. Haven't been on the chat here. Happy to see some familiar faces. And yeah, we're building for Midwifery and didn't happen in Catalyst. So yeah, so building on ourselves now.
Nice.
Yeah, thanks for the invite.
Yeah, glad to have you here. Welcome. Cool. Anyone else that'd like to introduce themselves? Todo, go for it.
Yeah, well, I was here last week, but I don't remember this meeting. I hope I'm not making a mistake. Yeah, so yeah, I'm here in the QA area. Yeah, really interested to see what's going on.
Awesome. Thanks for joining. Cool. Okay. Anyone else like to introduce themselves? Tyler, have you been with us before? Okay. Cool. Okay. Jumping on. Okay, so guys, the real purpose of these calls is to actually get in touch with you as the community. These calls are not going to be technically focused. The aim of these calls is obviously that we want to hear from you. So instead of us having the slide next time that we get together, I'd like to actually have an open discussion with the community members where you give us a few minutes to voice your opinions, concerns, ideas, and so forth. So if that sounds interesting to you, feel free to reach out to me. I will post a link with my email, and you guys can reach out to me and let me know if you'd like a few minutes on these calls to voice any concerns, issues, like we said, ideas. We've got a couple of exciting updates. The first one is our project proposal. Before we get into that, I'm just going to talk a little bit about the second point. So During these sessions, we plan on having community spotlights. So what that means is we inviting community members to come and talk a little bit about their project, how they plan on using OEA within the tech stack, and what they're doing basically. So without further ado, I'd like to hand over to Esteban to go over a little bit about our project proposal. Esteban, over to you.
Yeah, I mean, this one is going to be quick. Basically, as some of you may know, so for others, maybe they don't know, basically the Hyperledger lab, or really Hyperledger projects have a life cycle that basically moves the projects in a process of starting up, then maturing a little bit. And for that, there are processes nicely defined by Hyperledger. Currently, we are in the first stage of this. Basically, we are what is called an Hyperledger lab. So basically, that is like the entry point of things into the Hyperledger community. We have been in this stage for not too much time, really just a few months, but given that actually our project really is quite a bit mature, we have been thinking about moving a step forward in the life cycle of Hyperledger projects, as applying to become what is actually called an Hyperledger project. So for this process, basically what we do is we work in a proposal. This proposal is handled as a PR, an Hyperledger improvable proposal. And yeah, that's the first step to move forward in this life cycle. And we took the decision to move forward in this area. Right now, I have just started working on the contents of the proposal. Some things that are in there is like finding sponsors. I think we already have a good pool of sponsors for that. Providing like a justification of the project, what it's about, and some additional details. And also, well, there is a topic that maybe some of you already know, that we are changing the name of the lab, because originally we only thought about moving into Hyperledger the cloud agent. So Open Enterprise Agent was like a good idea, maybe not too much of a good idea, but at least made a little bit of sense. But as part of this, moving forward, we also want to move into Hyperledger additional components of what was known as Prism. That involves the mediator, the wallet SDKs, and other components that are around. So because of that, it doesn't make sense to call this thing a Open Enterprise Agent, because it's going to be more broad than that. So we did a process a few weeks ago for finding a new name with having the community say in the name. Basically, we did that exercise that you saw on Discord. And in the end, the name that was selected was Identus. So this name has already been submitted to Hyperledger for review. I believe that hopefully this week I will get some news to see if it has finally been approved by Hyperledger legal department. And if it is that way, then Identus will be the name coming forward. So yeah, basically that is the update on that matter. I will continue working on that proposal, hopefully to submit that in the PR soon. And I will share with you any updates on that matter. And that's it.
Awesome. Thanks, Esteban. I just want to go over again the community spotlight. So just remember, community, it's for you guys as community members to come and showcase what you're working with on OEA, or soon to be known as Identis, as said by Esteban earlier. These sessions are recorded and they are uploaded to Hyperledger's YouTube page, and we do post on the meeting minutes as well. So don't be scared to take the opportunity to come and present what you guys are working on. Okay, so now to the more exciting part of the call. I'd like to welcome Subhash to come and present to us a little bit about what he's working on in terms of growing Atala Prism or OEA 100 times faster. So Subhash, without further ado, the floor is yours.
Hey, thanks for having us. Can I share my screen?
Of course, sure.
Yeah, this is good. Just one. Oh, whoa, okay. Give me a minute. I think there's some. I'm trying again. Yeah. Okay. Can you see my screen? Yeah. Hey, so what we are building is a Reclaim protocol. This is a zero-knowledge proof-based project. Now, so think of this as a ZK browser, wherein any data that the user is seeing on their web page, they can generate a verifiable proof of it, attestation that whatever data that they are seeing on their user profile can be created into verifiable credential and then shared with any third-party application. It can be your identity information, it can be your financial health information, your academic or professional credentials, your GitHub repo contributions, private GitHub repo including. Not just that, even some of your social behavior, like we are using Uber rides as a way to prove, to generate a proof of personhood. Some of these interesting constructs are that we are building in. Just to give you an example of what the potential of this is, if you look at the screen here on the left-hand side, there is a IRS attestation of my name and my address. If you know the traditional KYC is you take a paper document and then of a document of your driver's license, so copy of your driver's license or passport, and your address proof, again a paper copy PDF file, and then share it with the KYC company, and you do a video liveness check. In the new age world, once the regulations accept zero knowledge proofs as a legit way of doing verification, so you can see proofs like this. Now, where I log into my IRS portal, which is the US tax portal, you can see my name there. It's the name from the Social Security database and all that, and my address with which I filed my tax filings. This is a more tamper-proof way of doing KYC. The traditional KYC that you do typically is only 95% accurate, in the sense there are statistically 5% cases where the data has been fudged and so submitted for KYC. So this is like 100% legit way of doing it. And the beauty of this is, if I have to go to IRS and ask for an API access or access to their to the data, the APIs or the modifications on the web server would take a lot of time. More than that, so for me to get an approval to be onboarded as an authorized service to access this data would take so imagine taking like 2-3 years. However, like using Reclaim, we were able to do this in less than half an hour, because we don't need any APIs. One. Two is we are generating these verifiable credentials on the user end on their mobile or desktop. So we don't need any APIs. When the user logs in through our ZK browser, they generate an attestation, and then that data gets seamlessly passed on to the third-party application that's processing the data. Right. So that's the concept. So with this, so one of the first major wins that we had was Polygon ID, and I think so that is what has motivated us to even look at like Atala Prism. So fundamentally, Polygon ID was struggling to onboard issuers. It's been like so 1.5 years since Polygon ID has existed, and for them apparently to onboard any issuer, it takes like 3 to 4 months minimum. So we came in and we said like, hey, you can onboard an issuer without even talking to the issuer, because all that you need to do is go to a user, share a template with them on what data that they want to pull, and then the user can use the template, log in. Think of it like Plaid. If you're in this part of the world, US, Plaid does that with all the financial data. Of course, the only issue there is you give out your credentials to Plaid, and it's only specific to banks, and we do it with any of the bank websites, any of the websites, not just bank. So that's what we have done with Polygon ID, and that's what so we have been exploring doing with Atala going forward. So just as like I try to also dumb it down so that I can explain it to like a kind of a ELI 5 kind of an explanation here. The way it works is when the user, like what we are trying to leverage TLS protocol, the TLS handshake that happens between a user and a website. Whenever a user tries to log into a website, they establish a TLS handshake that establishes the encrypted data line, which is how the entire HTTPS, the World Wide Web, is secure. What we are doing is we are creating a proxy, which is the ZK browser, which acts as an attester. This is the attester. So that attester doesn't see actually any of the data because the data is encrypted and the attester doesn't have the keys. The only thing that the attester does is attest that the user is actually logging in to the IRS portal, and the response that is coming back first hits the attester before it hits the user. So even the response is legit. The spoofing of data or manipulation of the data cannot be done by the user. That's what it's attesting, that it happened in a legit environment. And that, so once we know that, in the case of IRS portal, when I log into the first landing page, and then I have to go to the profile page. So in the second step, when I go to the profile page, that data, which is encrypted, so the attester shares it with another process called zero knowledge proof circumcircuit. This is encrypted data, and the user locally passes the session keys or the decryption keys of the data to this process as a private input. So in this particular process, the encrypted data, the data gets decrypted, and we do a regular expression match on those only two particular fields, my name and my address, because there are other fields like what years did I submit my taxes, now how much money, my AGA, gross income, all that stuff, which is sensitive information, which will be redacted. Only the two fields that I wish to reveal, which are my name and my address, will be revealed. So this selective reveal is enabled by the zero knowledge proof, that the selective reveal of data plus the attestation that this is happening in a legit environment together also provides a verifiable credential without the need for any web server and APIs or anything, so. And we are able to generate these almost at Web2 kind of user experience of anywhere between 5 to 10 seconds per proof. Depends on the data, but so the simpler proofs like the one that I showed takes like 10 seconds to generate. Yeah, so I'll stop at that. So if there are any questions, I'm happy to take it. Otherwise, I can post some more data on how it integrates with third-party app. I have some screens that I can share.
Awesome. Thanks for that, Subhash. That was really interesting. Marcus, you have a question for Subhash?
Yeah. Great presentation. Thank you. I'm having a question from a marketing side, because marketing bots are basically collecting session keys to imply proof of life. Does the user click to an attester's website then to obtain that key, or how does this work?
So I'm showing this on our local app. So this is, think of it like a wallet where the user can store the data. We are not developing this at this point of time, but for the demos we use it. So here in this particular case, the user is generating a proof of how many food deliveries. Now you're talking about the marketing use case. This is a marketing use case. So what happens is the user logs into the particular website where they want to generate a proof. And when they're doing it in our browser. It's a pop-up window on your application, which is a ZK browser, on which they log in. And when they log into that particular page where where we need to collect the data. So it generates a proof of, like in this case, Swiggy is a food delivery app in India. So where they are generating a proof of number of orders that somebody has placed, 10 orders. And then that's a verifiable proof that's shared with the third-party app.
Okay.
Right. So it's not keys or anything. They're actually generating a proof of their data on the web. And that JSON file is going to get shared with the third-party app.
So it's not just the mere visit that is collected, it's the actual action that something is happening. Okay, that was the confusing part for me, because we've been using bots like 2015 or so, for customers to grow their accounts for Instagram, etc. And we could use those bots to basically collect session cookies and then imply to Instagram and the other networks that
which is marginally not legit.
But I wouldn't have done this if I wouldn't have known.
Yeah. So if you hey, we have all done those mistakes. But yeah, so whatever we're doing right now is with the consumer, the user consent. User is generating these proofs. All the proofs are getting generated on the user local device. And then the user decides whether they have to share it with the third-party application or not.
Okay, cool.
So yeah, some of the problems of privacy, this is a serendipity that, so we're kind of solving for some of the GDPR problems this way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Cool. Do we have any other questions for Subhash on the line? Nothing. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Thanks, Subhash, for presenting. I do hope you're going to come back and share a little bit more as you reach the various milestones of your project.
Thank you.
Okay. Share my screen quickly. Okay, community spotlight is done. Okay, so the last, before we jump into Q&A, I'd like to make a call for contributions. I mean, you guys might be asking, why should you contribute? Firstly, you gain hands-on experience and obviously enhance your skills in this tech. You get to collaborate with awesome, like-minded individuals from around the world, make a meaningful impact in this industry by contributing to, I think it's one of the most cutting-edge technologies, boost your visibility as well in the open source community. And you may be asking, okay, so how do I contribute? You just go ahead, explore our repo. I will paste the link in the chat after this. Have a look at our contributors file and just follow the easy steps from there. We also include a shout out section for all our contributors going forward. So the slide is dedicated to that, as well as community members. And last slide of the presentation, guys. Are there any questions for us? It's your opportunity to ask the team anything you'd like. We do have a couple of team members on. Yuri, Esteban, Ilona, Loan, Pat, Ahmed, Fabio. Cool. Roberto, go for it.
Oh, yeah. Real quick for Esteban. So what does it mean for the project getting into like an official Hyperledger project, besides the rebranding, right? And kind of get everything together. What's different of just being a lab versus being like a whole project? I'm not familiar with the maturity of of that process. Oh, you're muted.
Okay. Yeah. So one way to see it is like it will help to guide our maturity as an open source project, because in a lab, we really are just existing. The idea of the labs, as I understand from Hyperledger, is like a place to test ideas, to see if it catch on, if there is interest in the technology, maybe something like a proof of concept, maybe a research idea that you want to incubate a little bit, but without too much commitment. But we are way beyond that point, given the size
Yeah.
of the project. So when you move into Hyperledger project incubation, you have a goal. Doesn't mean that you need to pursue that goal, but the idea is to become a graduated project. So that say like gives you like a North Star of what do you want to do with the open source project, in a sense of recommendations, following guidelines, following best practices in open source, improving your code base, having, I don't know, like a test coverage in your code base, also interacting with an open source community, because in the end, the idea is to get into the project additional maintainers. So right now, most of the maintainers are from IOG. Probably will continue to be in that way for a while. But if you move that outside of IOG scope, I believe that it's easier to get people from other companies to engage with the project. So that is like maybe a mid-long-term set of goals, but basically that's the benefit. And also, well, it gives way more visibility to the project. For example, Prism, as it is in the concept of Prism, is very within the Cardano ecosystem. And it's really funny because not many people outside Cardano knows about Prism. If you become an Hyperledger project, now you basically are going to be showcased with things like Hyperledger Aries, Anon Creds, other projects that are similar in nature, and hopefully will help us to get the synergy. So extend beyond the Cardano community into other areas. So basically that's what we are aiming for.
Cool. And what you said about having goals and a North Star and all that, I mean, since the project is transitioning from being developed by IOG mainly, right, into being open source and having contributions, I understand that that has to keep going for a while, right? But at some point, well, you also take community feedback for most of the decisions, right? At this point, this will be more open, I guess, in the next step.
Yes. So the idea is to be way more open. So for example,
Okay.
things that we need to improve yet. For example, currently a lot of the tracking of tasks, we do that in internal IOG systems. Basically, we have a Jira, but as part of this transition, we need to get away of that and start doing the project management into GitHub. So
Right.
it's more visible. And also there are meetings that still happen within IOG's meetings within the company. But the idea is to move that outside as well, so anyone from the community can join. So I don't know.
Awesome.
We have some architectural decision being taking place right now. It's still within IO, but we need to have that outside so other people can participate and contribute and get engaged. So it's a hard process. I won't lie. It's very difficult, but we are moving that little by little until we get into this point where we want to be.
Awesome. Thank you.
Okay.
Are there any more questions? Nothing. Okay, cool. And I think we'll go ahead and close this call. If you guys are wanting to dive a little bit more into the technical side of things, I do encourage you to join our maintain and contribute to call next week, Tuesday, same time, same place, it's the same link. Yeah, and we'll see you guys then. And if you guys do want to be part of the community spotlight, please, I did post my email in the chat. So reach out to me. Let me know if you want to take a slot and we can make it happen. Thanks for joining, everyone. Thanks, Subhash.
Thanks,
Thank you,
everybody.
guys.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.
Thank you. Bye.